It's been an unbelievable end to the year for comic book content. A Superman movie trailer, Creature Commandos, Season 3 of What If of Marvel, the release of Marvel Rivals, and of course Deathstroke getting added to Suicide Squad. But I wanted to look at the state of the year in general for comic book video games, what was released, announced, updates, or lack of updates on. Give some thoughts on where we're at. But very quickly as usual, if comic book games are what you're into, consider subscribing, news, reviews, guide streams, the full shebang. I'd love to have you around. Right, let's talk 2024. We'll start with the no-shows of the year. It's now been 3 years since Wonder Woman was unveiled to us at the Game Awards in 2021. Now, for a lot of people, I'm seeing frustration, confusion, and worry a little bit about the state of Wonder Woman. I don't share that same sentiment. Look, I want to see this game so badly, man. I mean, the Nemesis system. We are talking about a top 5 video game mechanic, period. Apply that to DC and Wonder Woman in particular. I mean, the potential is limitless. It is so exciting. But the fact is, this kind of long cycle is becoming the norm now, man. Video game announced trailers aren't maybe what they once were, in that many game announcements are now just to staff up to be able to work on the project. And Wonder Woman seems to be the same case for that. Jason Schreier, who I think is the best in the business, said on his Triple Click podcast, quote, "I spoke to someone working on the Wonder Woman game a while back and they were like, our current timeline has us set for 2026, and even that seems unrealistic," end quote. And with that in mind, I personally feel like there's a good chance that we could see the re-reveal of Wonder Woman next year. Now, whether that's a gameplay trailer or more likely a tone setter for the story. Something that we saw this year with Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra that we'll talk about shortly, but something similar to that where we get a bit of a cadence of what we're doing in this Wonder Woman story, who the villains are, what this world looks like, and just to get to know a little bit more about the game if 2026 is the likely release date. Look, me personally, I always prefer the shorter marketing cycles. First gameplay trailer and then bang, it's in our hands in a few months. And I get the frustration of just how long it is from announcement to then playing the game, and the fact is that's just the reality of it now. You know, I really wish that it wasn't like that, but there's going to be a lot of these games. Knights of the Old Republic remake, TMNT The Last Ronin, Star Wars Eclipse that Schreier said was in a similar boat. Games have just got so big now that a lot of games that we see announced, they're just at the conception phase, and it's just, hey, we're making a cool Wonder Woman game. Does that sound good to you? Come and help us make it. So yeah, 2026 sounds like the most reasonable date for this one, and you know, 5 years from announcement, it's just the norm now. I don't like it, but unfortunately I'd love to find some kind of middle ground, but at the end of the day, they don't want these projects to leak or anything like that, so they announce them so early, they staff up, and then we eventually get the game 5, sometimes 6 years down the line, and that's looking to be the case with Wonder Woman. But I do think there is a good chance that we finally see the game next year. Whether that's in some kind of story trailer, like I say, very CG heavy, like the game's cutscenes, or we do get our first look at gameplay. And with what Monolith did with the Shadow of games, I guess, with Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, I think this game has huge potential, and I don't want to rush it out the door. So DC needs a hit in terms of the video games, and same on the movie side, especially after Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad. So I really hope that alongside the quality that Arkham Shadow obviously had, this can deliver on that same level. And if it is 2026, I hope there's something else in the works that we don't know about yet that could potentially release sooner, because that's a long time, especially when James Gunn has just kicked off his DCU with Creature Commandos, but more notably Superman next year. Like, that's a long, long wait. So I really hope that there's something else, or we do get like more of a look at this very quickly. Another project with no update was on Marvel's Wolverine. I have a lot of sympathy in this case personally. I mean, those Insomniac hacks had a real damaging impact upon timelines because they had to protect the people first and foremost, as they should. But, you know, it's harsh because people have seen really early gameplay, and it's just such an unfortunate situation. I think, again, this one is probably looking at a 2026 date, which, if those two games released at the same year, what a year we would have there. But Sony have got a lot of cards to unveil. I mean, Sony Santa Monica, what Ben's studio are working on, whatever Bluepoint are working on. It feels like they're priming up for like another big PlayStation showcase if there's going to be one of those. So I would think that the next time we see Wolverine would be at something like that. But being realistic, I do expect to see gameplay from this next year and then a release the year after. And I'm really anticipating this one, man. It's so tonally different from Insomniac's recent work, and with Spider-Man, they prove they get these characters. Of course they've had misses, Venom being a prime example at the end of the day, but with Wolverine, if they can match the quality that 2018 Spider-Man provided with that kind of story, I think we're onto a winner here. And I guess sticking with Insomniac, no Spider-Man 2 DLC this year, which is a shame. I'd love to have more to do in that sandbox because it's just so good and fun to play around in. But if that's something that's become a smaller project like 2020's Miles Morales, that's just as exciting to me. A Venom spin-off or the other little loose threads that game leaves, there's a lot to be excited about there. At the end of the day, Insomniac, I feel, have done a lot of heavy lifting for PlayStation this generation, and as a result, I think they've earned some time to cook up a really good Wolverine game, spin-off game, whatever else they're working on next. I think they deserve that time and that respite, and let the other studios produce some big hits for PlayStation than just Insomniac. They've done a phenomenal job. Whether you love all of Marvel Spider-Man 2 or not, you can't deny that that game is just astoundingly fun to play. Of course, there was no updates from Motive's Iron Man, Cliffhanger's Black Panther, or Arcane's Blade, but I would never have expected any kind of updates on those games because when we first saw all of those games, again, it's just a case of them being just conceived and trying to staff up to then build and work on this project. If I was looking ahead to next year, what game would I maybe expect to see out of those three? Iron Man feels the most likely. I don't know what's giving me that feeling. I just feel like Motive are probably the furthest along with that one, but it does feel very early to get any kind of dates or anything on those games, but maybe Iron Man next year. Let's see. Alright, let's talk about the games that we have had updates on this year. Marvel's 1943, Rise of Hydra. We got some chunky looks of this game this year. We finally got the game's title with a 2025 release date in a story trailer, and to be honest, this game is looking like a graphical monster, to put it lightly. I'm very excited about this one because it's rare we get multiple playable characters in a single player superhero game. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy opted to just play as Peter Quill, and to be honest, I was okay with that. It was fun ordering the Guardians around, but I do think that, when you get these kind of opportunities, you want to play as multiple characters, and the premise of this one, I find fascinating. It just looks very ambitious. I mean, there's obvious video game heritage, if you like, with Amy Hennig, who is just supremely talented in making compelling action-adventure games. But like I said, I'm really just feeling the tone and the premise of this one. It's very unique from recent superhero games, which that's why it's captured my intrigue, and I hope this one makes it next year, and if it doesn't, I don't think there's any superhero games hitting next year, barring a last-minute surprise, and that could happen. I mean, Marvel Rivals debuted and released in the same calendar year, but it does feel like the big Marvel games get a longer marketing cycle. Still, if it has to get pushed, then of course push it, but I'm sure Marvel games don't want too many games stacked upon each other in the same calendar year and kind of fighting, so I reckon ideally they'd like to see this game in 2025, but nevertheless, if we can get 1943, Wolverine, Iron Man, Black Panther in months apart or whatever, that'll be amazing. But I'm really excited for this one. I think it is looking fantastic. Alright, let's talk about the games that we did get. 2 DC, 1 Marvel, and we'll start with my favourite, Batman Arkham Shadow. I mean, when this trailer dropped of the game being announced, I sighed. I thought, are you joking? It's not that I don't like VR, I think it's cool, but a MetaQuest 3 exclusive Batman VR game, I didn't have one at the time, but boy, was I wrong about my feeling. I mean, what Ryan Payton and the team at Camouflage Studios did here is unbelievable. It wasn't just a love letter to Arkham, but a game to stand alongside the rest of the series, shoulder to shoulder. I don't think personally there'll ever be a time where I can recommend getting one system for one game because what is value to me is different to everybody else, but this game is as close as I can possibly get to just recommending, like, this is the term of a system seller, and I truly do believe that. This is the closest that I can ever get to being like, yes, you should buy this one system for this one game if you are an Arkham fan, because it is unbelievable. It's just so wonderfully designed and so instinctively Batman Arkham. Roger Craig Smith might just be the best young, rage-induced Batman that there is. He's back and forth with Alfred, just like in Origins. They're outstanding here, they really are. I just love that the game is so distinct from every other Arkham game, and I don't just mean that in the VR aspect either, just the gameplay loop itself. The use of Matches Malone, the early Batman years dynamics with Crane, Quinzel, and a few little surprises here and there. And there's moments that are up there with the Asylum Scarecrow battles, Evening the Odds in Arkham Knight, the Deathstroke encounter in Origins, or Protocol 10 in City. The potential for a sequel here is massive too. I mean, if they can find a way to get the Bat family in those younger years, where we're either playing as the Bat family or we're fighting alongside them, I could not wait for the premise of that. Like, that would be amazing. Like, imagine being Nightwing and using the charisma sticks. I mean, yes, or Robin with his staff, whatever it might be. Even Robin as Dick Grayson, which we haven't seen in the Arkham games yet. That would be a really cool story to tell. Very different from every other Arkham game we've had, and just like this one was. And if this is the way we get more early entries into Arkham, I can't think of a better way to do it. It's the most character-driven Arkham game that we've ever got, and it's the perfect way of taking something that you know and making it fresh and new. And it's definitely one of my games of the year for 2024. On to the other DC game of this year, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which in just a couple of weeks from when I'm recording this, we'll see the game's final content update, giving us the final fight against Brainiac. I'm not going to spend all day talking about Suicide Squad because, like I say, that final update is just a few weeks away now, and I'll do a big final verdict video there. I don't need to beat a man when he's already down. The game, it just hasn't worked, and despite some good elements in the gorgeous design, the cinematics, the lighting, the soundtrack, the overall production of it, the build crafting, and the really elegant flashy movement, the core loop of it it didn't register. I think what hurts most is that it was 9 years between Suicide Squad and Arkham Knight, and it will be likely another 4 or 5 years once this game ends support before we see anything else from Rocksteady. Video games have just got so big and complex, and I just think that sucks. It's just so supremely disappointing when so much effort and love and care had been put into this, and it just didn't pan out in the slightest. People ask the question, is it the same Rocksteady that we once knew? And obviously it's not. Sefton and Jamie have left, but that happens all the time in video games. But for me, in Suicide Squad, I think, had this been a single player game with more specific boss battles, no end game element to focus on, no repetitive activities to design, or design the levels to account for up to 4 players to traverse in, there is a lot to marvel at there, and I really do think that this could have been a really good single player game. I mean, the linear evil Batman sections were genuinely 10 out of 10, that even people that didn't like the game I'm sure enjoyed, as you could tell that Kevin did in that role. At the end of the day, it didn't work out on the whole, and it is what it is. I'm glad that Rocksteady weren't added to an ever-growing list of remarkable studios that have been shuttered in another horrid year for the industry. And it makes sense that they would go back to Batman. Alongside Spider-Man, he is the most popular hero, it's the studio's foundations, it's what they know, and at the end of the day, it's the ability to print money. I'd really like for them to take some of the movement tech that was in Suicide Squad and apply it to whatever game they create next. I think it's really good. If they were making a Batman Beyond game, I would love to see that kind of movement put in there. So yeah, I mean, regardless of whether I enjoy aspects of the game, which I do, otherwise I wouldn't cover it, it's been a tough year for them and a disappointing one for many Arkham fans who don't own a VR headset. I hope that the story ends in a satisfying manner, but I'm really not sure how this one's going to wrap up, to be honest. And I think more than anything, what concerned me most about this game wasn't even the game itself. It was the vitriol from the internet that accompanied it, man. Whether it was just me making general guides, people tweeting a clip of them playing the game, all the way to the disgusting threats and remarks made to the developers of the game, using Kevin's name. And it just rubs me up the wrong way, and it makes me sad. There's so much hatred online, man. Like, we all just used to talk about the stuff that we loved, and now everything has to be the best thing ever and your entire personality, or you spend all your day telling everyone how much you hate it. We've convinced ourselves that 7 out of 10s are bad video games and should never be touched. I don't know, man, maybe I'm just saying this because it's Christmas, but strive to be better. Spend your time, your days, doing what you love and what gives you energy at the end of the day. Spend your energy doing and talking about the things that energize you. So many comic book fans are the antithesis of their favourite heroes and comic books, and it's insane. Anyway, continuing talking about the things that we do love, I am genuinely stunned of how much I am loving Marvel Rivals. I mean, to hit right before Christmas, just what a great time on so many accounts, but what a strong launch this game has had. We're kinda now just waiting to see what Season 1 brings, but listen, as someone who's frankly had enough of free-to-play structures and monetization, this game's just got me logging in every single day to play. I'll stand by the fact that Overwatch does play better, but I'll take this game any day of the week, man. And that Marvel source that this game just dunked in is fantastic. One of the greatest compliments that I can play this game is just how comic book coded it really is. From the little comic book panels that you can earn, the achievements acting as Easter eggs, the labour of love for skins both comic book and MCU inspired, it finally feels like we have our live service superhero game that isn't destined to fail. And it's got those one more game hooks in you. Not to mention, the post-launch support, even in Season 0, has been brilliant. I mean, they come out, getting a little mini-season, right into Season 1 in January, but bang, Christmas, winter event, gonna get a free costume. And it just feels like they are primed, they are ready, that the MCU synergies or even other game synergies, just to attack it, bring suits over, have events, and it feels like they are ready and they are set up to be a really big hit. But at the core of it though, it just feels fun. Launching fastball with Hulk and Wolverine, or the internet phenomenon that Jeff the Landshark has become. It's a game that's had its launch moment, but that has continued month long, and that's massive. Early doors, it has some stuff to work out, as all live service games do. It needs more repeatable daily battle pass progression, less time gating, something in comp to stop everyone insta-locking all the DPS characters and then blaming healers when they get 2 kills in 2 rounds. I'm looking at you, Big Michael 2347. Behave yourself. But yeah, I'd go as far as to say that this game has been the surprise of the year for me. I've really been out of my PvP arc for a long time, and this game is just doing it for me, man. In terms of other announcements, it's been pretty quiet. I'm a little bit worried on the DC front in terms of what their roadmap is looking like the next 5 years, but rejoice, they have gained the ability to think at the top level. They've gone, oh, we can license out our IP? It's a massive news. It's massive news. And it's great that they've now thought of that and thinking, oh, maybe we won't just get 4 games every decade. But yeah, I'd say otherwise that's the big news from DC this year, is them coming out and confirming that. Had Arcane not been making a Blade game, I would be begging for a Deathstroke immersive sim. Regardless, there has to be a Superman game being pitched somewhere. I mean, look at the numbers that trailer has pulled in for that movie. And it feels like now more than ever, a Superman game can really exist. With the fast loading of the SSDs, the more graphical power that we're getting more than ever. I just feel like now we can finally get a Superman game and these consoles can actually provide the support for one. So 2025, realistically, I think we should see Wonder Woman, even like a tone setter trailer for the story, definitely gameplay, and hopefully a release in Marvel 1943. And I suspect they'll be seeing updates from Insomniac for Wolverine and then whatever else they're cooking. I think 2025 is going to be a big year for comic books. We've got a brand new Superman movie coming. Daredevil is back. Captain America is back. We're getting a Fantastic Four movie with a stacked cast. Not to mention Thunderbolt's also on the big screen. And then on the little screen, Peacemaker and Ironheart. So much good stuff on the comic book lines too, with Hickman returning to Marvel, the absolute DC line. It's shaping up to be a really promising year for comic book content that I'll hope you'll join me for. So, what are you most excited for in 2025? And of all the things that did release this year, did you play any of them, and what was your favourite from those? I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. I'd also love for you to drop a like on the video, and like I said at the top, if you're after comic book game content, news, reviews, guides, streams, whatever it may be, the full shebang, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you around. Regardless, all my socials will be linked in the description down below, so if you have anything else for me, you can find me down there. Otherwise, I hope you have a terrific day, play games, get gains, and have a wonderful Christmas.